The year I was at the peak of my fame as Mrs. Cameron. I asked for a divorce. The great director, always cold and detached, only frowned lightly as he watched me leave with my suitcase. We never even got a marriage certificate. What makes you think you're the real wife? You can leave any time you want. I looked at the woman who had just returned from abroad, standing in my kitchen with the posture of a hostess, boiling soup for him. I smiled and nodded. All right. Chapter 1. The news of Luna's return to China topped the trending searches. She had become famous as a teenager. Then, at the height of her career, left everything behind to go overseas. By 25, she had already won several international Best Actress awards. Now, her comeback film was with none other than Cameron, the most respected director in the industry. Her glory was unmatched. And naturally, her fans were ecstatic. But what went viral wasn't the press release, it was a leaked video from the film set. In the clip, Luna sat in a chair in the break room, holding her script, tilting her head as she talked to a man in front of her. That man's brows were tightly furrowed, his expression so strict it made one afraid to breathe. Until suddenly, he stopped speaking, reached out, and wiped away the excess lipstick from the corner of Luna's lips. Then, he turned sharply toward the camera, his gaze sharp and commanding as he shielded Luna from view. The video ended there, but not before everyone online saw his face clearly. Cameron. The live comments went wild. Is this really the cold-hearted, emotionless director Cameron? Luna's beauty strikes again. Who knew even he couldn't resist? Surprised? You didn't know they were childhood sweethearts? He gave up his inheritance to enter showbiz with her. They debuted together, rose to fame together, then suddenly split for unknown reasons. But betrayal tastes so good. The day Luna went abroad, he announced he was quitting acting to become a director. Now they're working together again, pretending to be distant, but still drawn to each other. My babies are getting back together. Amid the waves of celebration, someone commented rather awkwardly, Cameron's married. You know, maybe respect his wife? Pfft, you mean that wife he's kept hidden for 5 years? Sorry. Step aside. Side character, the true love is back. I set down my phone and calmly digested the insults aimed at me. The dishes on the dining table had already gone cold. The happy birthday on my cake had melted into an unreadable blur. Cameron had forgotten again the promise he'd made to come home and celebrate my birthday. Then again, when I reminded him 2 days ago, he'd only replied with a casual hum. He probably never meant to come back. I made a lazy wish, ate a few bites of the cloying cake, and went to bed alone. But in the middle of the night, I was awakened by sounds downstairs. When I opened the door, the man stood there against the light, coat still on. Didn't you say you wanted me home for your birthday? The tone, almost accusatory. I lowered my eyes and said quietly, but it's already 3 in the morning. Silence filled the air, suffocating me. I lifted my head, trying to speak again, but he'd already turned away. Then stop asking me to come home, he said coldly, and left. Chapter 2. I've never slept well, and after being awakened last night, I barely rested at all. By morning, I felt drained and heavy. Cameron had already left. This house was just a pit stop for him, a temporary apartment where he occasionally dropped by. When I came downstairs, the housekeeper handed me a gift box with a smile. It's the birthday present Mr. Cameron left for you last night. See? He does care about you. I took it, opened the lid, and found a pair of pink diamond earrings. I smiled faintly and said nothing. I never wore earrings, least of all pink ones. The gift made no sense, yet somehow eased a fraction of the bitterness in my chest, until I saw the new behind-the-scenes clip online. Luna, in a dazzling red dress, was confidently pointing out flaws in Cameron's directing. There was an audible gasp around her, but Cameron, standing in the center, said nothing. After a brief pause, he simply nodded. We'll do it her way. The internet exploded again. He's so in love. She's the only exception. But all I saw was the pink diamond necklace around Luna's neck. Her fans had already dug up the details. Custom made by Nico, France's top luxury jewelry house, usually ordered 2 years in advance. One of a kind, though apparently, there's a pair of earrings made from leftover stones. I froze. And again, that dull ache spread through my chest. The humiliation turned to bitterness on my tongue, and my stomach twisted before I could even eat. As if the day hadn't been cruel enough, my phone rang. It was my friend, Roxana. Her voice hurried and tense. "Selena, your script got pulled. I heard Cameron's production bought it. They're rewriting the female lead story for Luna." Chapter 3. My contract had long been signed, but when Cameron wanted something, he was never bound by such trivialities. On the other end of the call, my agent cursed under her breath, then sighed and tried to comfort me. "At least the compensation's been raised tenfold," I answered softly. But I didn't tell her the truth. I had worked on that script for 3 months. Every single word was something I had labored over, burning the midnight oil. Now, staring at the cold, empty living room, I suddenly felt that everything was meaningless. Luna and I were cousins, yet we had always lived in 2 completely different worlds. When I was 5, my parents died in a car accident. After that, my uncle's family took me in, and I lived under the same roof as Luna. Being dependent on others was never pleasant. Her parents didn't like me, though they tolerated my presence out of guilt for how much my late parents had helped them. Luna didn't like me either. The thing she said to me the most was, "If you're going to live in my house, keep quiet. No one wants to hear you talk." A cramped room and a heavy loneliness, that was my entire childhood. The only warmth I remembered came from a visit to Cameron's house. When the boy gently helped me up after I fell, that was the first time I met him. He had cool, distant eyes, but he knelt down and said softly, "You hurt your leg. I'll have the servant bring medicine." But the second time we met, that fragile warmth shattered. My grandfather took my hand and said to him, "Cameron, you and she have been betrothed since childhood. Taking care of her is the least you can do to repay her parents' kindness." Cameron slammed the door in defiance. He'd rather turn against his family than give up following Luna into showbiz to chase her dream. Everyone knew he was cold and distant. The only person who could make him smile, tease him, or hold his arm was Luna. I buried my quiet feelings and told my grandfather I would withdraw from the engagement. But he wasn't worried at all. "Don't worry," he said. "He'll come back. Later." I learned the truth. When Cameron and Luna reached the height of their fame, his family cut off all his resources. To save her career, Luna went abroad with a powerful industry executive who admired her. Cameron only found out after she had left. They fought bitterly, and in the end, they went their separate ways. He agreed to the engagement with me after that. But he never once showed me warmth again. Just like now, this was the 3rd time he'd finally answered my call. My throat tightened, my eyes burning. "Cameron, that script, it was mine." There was a knock on his end of the line, followed by a bright, familiar voice. "Luna, Cameron, didn't you say you'd take me out to eat?" After a long while, he came back to the phone, his tone cold and impatient. "Did you need something?" I blinked, then pressed the hang-up button. No. The sky outside was gray, no different from the countless other days of my life. And yet, something inside me was quietly, clearly taking shape. I wanted a divorce. Chapter 4. I pulled out my suitcase and spent the entire afternoon packing my things. The walk-in closet was now half empty, only a few of Cameron's suits remained, making the space feel hollow and cold. When I carried my suitcase downstairs, I realized someone was busy in the kitchen. A woman stood there with an apron tied around her waist, her dark curls falling over her shoulders. Steam rose from the pot in front of her. Hearing my footsteps, she didn't even turn around. "It's almost ready. You don't need to come over. You should really scold Selena a little. There's nothing left in the house." Luckily, at least I found something to make hangover soup with. I listened to Luna's soft, casual tone and said quietly, "He doesn't drink what I make." Cameron was always busy, so busy that even our engagement banquet had been something he attended briefly, just to save face. He rarely came home, usually only stopping by after work or a social event. I once tried learning how to make hangover soup. I even offered it to him once. When he'd come home drunk, he took one sip, frowned, and poured the entire bowl into the trash. "Luna's recipe. Who did you learn it from? Stop doing these shallow tricks." Luna froze for a moment, then smiled faintly. "So it was you, Selena. The crew had a dinner party tonight." Cameron drank quite a bit, and he wouldn't let anyone else help him. So I brought him back. The last time he drank this much was the day I went abroad. She ladled out a bowl of soup. I heard he hasn't attended a single cast dinner all these years. This must have been because I was there. Cameron. Luna called softly behind me. I turned to look and saw Cameron leaning against the wall. His eyes were heavy with fatigue, but they stayed fixed on Luna, as though he'd been watching her for a long time. She handed him the bowl of soup. He stared at it silently, then took it and drank it all in one go. No anger, no harsh words, no rejection. He didn't throw it away. I stood in the corner, feeling as though I'd been pushed miles away from them, so far that Cameron didn't even notice I was there. Only when I placed the house keys and the wedding ring gently on the table did he finally look over. Cameron, I said quietly, I want a divorce. He frowned. What did you say? Chapter 5. A flicker of surprise passed through Luna's eyes, followed by a tone tinged with reproach. Selena, is it because I came back? You don't have to do this. Cameron's exhausted. Don't cause trouble. Cameron rubbed his temples impatiently. Is this about that script? If it is, Selena, I don't have time for your childish tantrums. I didn't answer. I only glanced at the beautiful, flawless diamond necklace around Luna's neck, then thought of my tiny pair of mismatched earrings, and I spoke again, firmly. I'm not throwing a tantrum. I'm asking for a divorce. I didn't take anything from this house. My suitcase only has my clothes. Don't worry. As for that gift, I left it in the bedroom. You can have it back. I don't want it. The living room fell into suffocating silence. Cameron slowly lowered his hand, his hawk-like gaze landing on me. Then he looked at the items on the table and laughed mockingly. If it weren't for grandfather's wishes, do you think I'd have stayed with you all these years? And besides, we never even registered our marriage. What makes you think you're the legitimate wife? If you want to go, just go. No need for this performance. He called for the housekeeper impatiently. Throw those keys and that ring in the trash. Then, without hesitation, he made a call. In one sentence, he revoked my status and froze all my bank cards. Finally, he looked at me. I despise foolish behavior like this. Selena, take care of yourself. Chapter 6. Dragging my suitcase behind me, I knocked on Roxana's door. She took one look at the mountain of bags and boxes stacked behind me and nearly dropped the bread she was biting. You actually divorced him? I caught the bread midair and stuffed it back into her mouth. Yeah, so, take me in for a while, will you? Her face lit up instantly. She ordered hundreds worth of takeout, celebrating my freedom regained while cursing Cameron between bites. After a while, she looked at me cautiously. Selena, are you not sad? I dug through my suitcase and pulled out a notebook, gently brushing my hand across the dented cover. No, not really. That notebook was my script manuscript. I flipped through a few pages. The handwritten scenes I had spent countless nights refining looked almost ridiculous to me now. All those memories I had treasured in my heart, Cameron had never cared about them at all. He hadn't even realized that those storylines were about us. He'd forgotten, too, how he used to comfort me when I woke up from nightmares. After my parents' death, I had no one left to rely on. I pretended to be mature, obedient, always sensible, even when I was tossed from Luna's home into Cameron's like an unwanted object. I never cried, but in those dark nights, when thunder split the sky and the room trembled with its roar, I would shake uncontrollably, hiding under the blanket's suffocating blackness. I was afraid of the dark, afraid of loneliness, but I knew no one wanted to hear about my fear or helplessness. Yet somehow, Cameron had turned on the nightlight, wrapped me in his arms, and gently pried open the arms I'd bitten raw. Selena, sleep well. His warmth had driven out all my cold. His low voice had become the lifeline that kept me from drowning in nightmares. Don't hurt yourself. Next time, come to me. It was like a drowning soul grasping a piece of driftwood. I clung to him with all my strength, just to breathe a little air. On the day of our engagement, I gave him the only keepsake my parents had left me, a heart-shaped lock. But when I packed today, I found it lying forgotten in a cabinet corner, covered in dust. I smiled faintly and closed the notebook. Might as well throw it away. None of it matters anymore. Then, turning to Roxana, I pretended to pout. But since I'm broke now, you have to feed me, okay? Roxana grinned, popping a skewer of roasted lamb into my mouth. Feed you? I can barely feed myself. She leaned closer with a mischievous look. So, there's a new gig. You taking it or not? Chapter 7. Roxana and I met in college. We were both drama literature majors. After graduation, she gradually became a well-known screenwriter. But Cameron never liked the idea of me working in this field. He once said he didn't want to see me both at home and at work. So all these years, I did nothing. Every script I poured my heart into was dismissed by him with a single sentence. And now, what Roxana was offering was the chance to write an original screenplay. The story's protagonist was a girl who grew up deep in the mountains. This kind of theme doesn't have much commercial appeal, Roxana explained. And the team will be stationed in the mountains for months, places where there's barely any signal, tough conditions, and long shoots. But the director, though young, has swept every Best New Director award in recent years. It's a great opportunity. Selena, do you want to give it a try? That heart I thought had gone silent started beating again. I couldn't hide the excitement in my chest. My fingers clenched. Yes, I want to. Maybe for others this wasn't a big deal. But for me, it was the best opportunity I'd had in years. I immediately contacted the director, stayed up 3 nights in a row, and completed the draft. Then I waited anxiously for a reply. When my phone finally rang, I answered instantly. But it wasn't the director. It was Luna. You answered so fast? She gave a light laugh. I guess Cameron was right. You're just throwing a tantrum for attention. But he won't forgive you that easily. Selena, you're not me. I curved my lips into a thin line. What do you want to say? That red gemstone cufflink of Cameron's, she said, her tone rising just slightly, a deliberate mix of arrogance and false gentleness. It was the one I gave him, it matches mine. He'll need it for the family dinner. Oh, and don't forget to come home. Grandfather misses you. When she said that last part, there was a faint trace of irritation beneath her voice. I replied calmly. Ask the housekeeper about the cufflink. As for the dinner, I won't go. I'll visit grandfather another time. Sister, if you want to reconcile with Cameron, just do it. You don't need to use me as an excuse. There was a pause on her end before she spoke again, her voice colder now. Selena, you misunderstand. I was just being kind, reminding you this is your chance to make peace. If I wanted to reconcile, you'd never have had the chance to ask for a divorce. Why are you snapping at me? At that moment, my phone vibrated again. A new message from the director. My draft had been approved. The weight in my chest finally lifted. I'm not coming back, I said evenly. And sister, don't contact me again. Then I hung up and dragged her into the blacklist. Chapter 8. After dragging Cameron into the blacklist as well, I suddenly felt an almost weightless freedom, as if an invisible shackle had finally been broken. Once I signed the contract, I joined the crew immediately. The team and equipment were fully prepared, and soon, a large group of us headed into the mountains to begin filming. I was in charge of writing a portion of the screenplay. The conditions here were indeed harsh. In summer, the mountains were hot and humid, and even the dense trees couldn't block the burning sunlight that scalded our skin. Mosquito bites covered my arms in red welts. Sometimes, if I wanted to send Roxana a message, I had to walk several kilometers just to find a signal. This life was nothing like what I had at Cameron's house, not even a tenth as comfortable. No housekeepers, no servants. Every trivial task had to be done by myself. Some nights, after spending the entire day buried in the script, I had only enough energy left to take a quick shower before collapsing into bed. And yet, for the first time, I felt a kind of joy and passion filling every corner of my being. For the first time, someone told me, Selena, you're truly talented. Inviting you was the right choice. My face burned. I stammered my thanks awkwardly. Praise had always been a luxury in my life. Back in Luna's house, every time I scored a few points higher than her, something of mine would mysteriously break, or I'd accidentally be locked outside the house. That's when I began to understand her parents never wanted to see me outshine their daughter. After marriage, I foolishly believed Cameron would be different. But he had said, Selena, there are so many outstanding screenwriters in the industry. What makes you think you can compete with them? Just stay home, play your part in front of grandfather, And don't show up at my workplace. I don't want to see you there. Don't make me hate you. Those words wove themselves into an invisible web that bound me for over 20 years. They made me cautious, hesitant, afraid to act. But now, Selena, your writing's getting better and better. No wonder the director wanted you. The whole writing team's praising you. Keep it up. Selena, believe in yourself. This film is gunning for this year's Golden Awards. Months passed in a blur, exhausting but fulfilling. When we finally left the mountains, the world looked brand new, as though it had been painted with a brighter hue. I turned on my phone, only to find my message inbox flooded, all from the same unknown number, with a cold, familiar tone. It was Cameron. Chapter 9. You blocked me? You're not at your friends. Where are you? Answer me. Selena. Of all places. Why Luis's crew? Are you doing this to spite me? What's the point? His and Luna's CP was still trending. His temper, as bad as ever. But in a recent interview, a reporter had prodded him with a smile. Director, there have been rumors that your marriage is cold and loveless. Now that Miss Luna's back and you're working together again, are you planning a reconciliation? His face darkened instantly. He shoved the microphone away. No, watch your mouth. Don't talk nonsense. The next day, a silver ring appeared on the fourth finger of his right hand. Our wedding ring. I had no idea where he'd found it. The last time he'd worn it was on our wedding day. During the early years, I always wore mine properly. Perhaps it bothered his eyes. He told someone to toss his into a drawer. So I learned my place and stopped wearing mine, too. All those years of suppressed bitterness had long taken root deep in my heart. My chest tightened with an old ache, but the voices of the crew snapped me out of it. Oh, look. Isn't that Cameron? What a joke, fooling around with his white moonlight and still not letting go of his wife. Poor woman. I blinked, and the suffocating weight vanished. It's fine, I said lightly. His wife already ran away. As I scrolled past the interview clip, a new message popped up. China Construction Bank, account ending 245, deposit of 2,000,00 CNY. New balance, 2,001,578 CNY. I frowned and immediately transferred it back. Almost instantly, my phone rang, as if he'd been waiting by it. I rejected the call. 2 seconds of silence. Then it rang again. He clearly wouldn't stop until I picked up. I finally answered, unable to hide the irritation in my voice. Cameron, what do you want? Isn't my leaving enough for you? To my surprise, there was no impatience this time, just uneven breathing, then his voice, quiet and low. Selena, where are you right now? You disappeared without a word. Do you have any idea how worried grandfather is? Come home now, apologize to him, and I'll let go of what happened before. And keep the money, it's better than that pathetic salary you're making. A surge of anger burned through me. For the first time, my voice was cold, sharp. Cameron, and who exactly are you to tell me to go home? What relationship do we have now? And before I went into the mountains, I wrote to grandfather. Don't use him as an excuse. Cameron had never been a patient man, least of all with me. I expected him to hang up immediately, but instead, I heard a click. I recognized the sound. A lighter. He only smoked when something involved Luna. Selena, he said slowly, if you want to write scripts, just come back. I can give you the best resources, better than anything you'll ever get on your own. How ironic. He knew how much I'd longed to write good stories, to be seen by the world. And yet he was the one who'd crushed that dream for years. Cameron, I don't need your help. I don't need you. Can you stop disturbing my life? He clearly hadn't expected that answer. After a long silence, his voice came through, low and tight with anger. Fine, you've grown some courage. Chapter 10. The next day, the crew invited me to join a small event, just a fun outing followed by dinner. I tagged along, curious and a little excited. Cameron had never taken me to occasions like these. Such lively scenes, I had only ever seen on TV. But the moment I turned around, I bumped straight into Luna. She was wearing her signature red gown, elegant and striking, her hair and makeup flawless. When her gaze fell on me, a flicker of surprise flashed across her eyes. Before I could say anything, One of the event organizers rushed over and scolded me sharply. Are you blind? Who let you in here? Which team are you from? Who said you could crash the event? Luna gave a small, practiced smile and said lightly, It's fine. I know her. Her tone carried that same gentle condescension she'd always had. Selena, you're being really inappropriate. Cameron came here with me today. You must have heard he didn't want to see you. So you tried to sneak in to find him, right? You could have just told me directly. I could have said a few nice words for you. Then her smile faded, and her gaze drifted lazily toward the necklace around my neck. And that necklace, it's not yours, is it? My brows knitted instantly. It's from our production team, a brand sponsorship. What does it have to do with you? She didn't respond, but her assistant immediately stepped forward, furious. What kind of no-name production crew are you from? There's no way your project got a sponsorship from this brand. That necklace was meant for our Luna. The brand told us this morning that it was suddenly reassigned. Don't tell me you stole it. Return it now, if you dare to bully Luna like this. Be careful, Mr. Cameron could have your whole crew blacklisted. The assistant reached out, trying to grab the necklace, but before her hand could touch me, a strong hand seized her wrist and flung her back. She staggered, her face going pale as she stammered out, Mr. Cameron. Cameron stood there, cold as frost. I am the sponsor. Do you have any doubts about that? Luna's expression faltered for a split second before she forced a polite smile. Cameron. I didn't know, but he didn't even look at her. Instead, he gripped my wrist firmly and pulled me toward the backstage area. As we passed the stunned crowd, his voice cut through the air like ice. If anyone dares to record or spread what just happened, I'll deal with you personally. He was holding me too tightly. I tried to pull away several times, but his grip only grew stronger. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore and shoved him hard. Cameron, what on earth do you want? He stopped abruptly, chest rising and falling, and after a long moment, he turned to look at me. The corners of his eyes were slightly red. Selena, what do you want? Is it really so hard for you to just come home with me? He lowered his head, his gaze locked on me, his voice hoarse, trembling. You've lost a lot of weight. The housekeeper said, you used to cry at home when I wasn't around. Why didn't you ever tell me? He slowly reached out, as if to touch my face. After this award season ends, I'll make time. We can talk, really talk. Let's stop fighting. Selena. Chapter 11. Admitting fault never existed in Cameron's vocabulary. In his world, there was only ever me, the one who should bow my head and reflect. Even when I wasn't the one at fault, I used to crave even a fragment of his gentleness, longing for someone who could be my safe harbor. But it always seemed impossible for me to have what I wanted. So I finally gave up, wounded all over, exhausted beyond repair. And now that I no longer want it, he suddenly insists on forcing it upon me. No, the crew burst in at that exact moment, interrupting his questioning. Selena, there you are. We've been looking for you everywhere. I pulled away from him and left with them. Behind me, he stood frozen, staring at his now empty hand, lips pressed tightly together, slowly lowering his arm. After the event, the crew couldn't wait to gossip about my relationship with him. Since it was pointless to hide it, I simply told them the truth. So the rumors were true. He and his wife had a big falling out. He's been in a terrible mood, snapping on set, making people reshoot hundreds of takes for no reason. He acts like he's so in love with his wife, but we've never once heard him mention her before. We all said he must be crazy, putting on some act. And in the end, turns out you're that wife. They all rushed to comfort me. We heard that he left the event early today, just walked out and abandoned Luna there. Didn't even show up at the celebration party for their film's award nomination. We're nominated too. It's not even certain who'll win yet. And they're already popping champagne and spamming press releases. Unbelievable. Selena, whatever you do, don't get back together with him. Surrounded by their chatter, the irritation I'd felt earlier from running into Cameron finally eased a little. I smiled and nodded. Absolutely not. Chapter 12. When life gets busy, time flies by. During this period, Cameron occasionally sent me messages. I ignored them all. He seemed determined to compete with me, pushing his film's release forward so that it would directly clash with ours. Aside from surprise, most of the online chatter mocked us, predicting we'd be completely crushed by his movie. Pressure and anxiety loomed over us day and night, but no one expected the tables to turn after release. Our film's reviews surged, and soon we were nominated for the Golden Horse Awards. On the night of the ceremony, the entire team was tense with anticipation, and inevitably, I ran into Cameron again. He looked at me, his tone calm and detached. "Selena, you're here too." "Of course, it's the award night, why wouldn't I be?" He gave a faint, mocking smile, as if he'd just heard something ridiculous. "You actually think it might be you?" I met his eyes steadily. "Cameron, how about you fix that habit of looking down on me before you try apologizing?" His gaze darkened. "Fine, then let's make a bet. If your film wins, I'll let you go, but if it doesn't, you'll come home with me." Quietly, then, with that same cold assurance, he added, "Though I'm afraid only the second outcome is possible." The ceremony began. On the grand, glittering stage, the host unfolded a small card. Our crew sat huddled together in a corner, each face tight with nerves and hope. My palms were slick with sweat. My breathing didn't even feel like my own. I glanced toward Cameron's back, his last words echoing in my mind. "Selena, I won't go soft this time. If you don't win, it'll prove leaving me was the stupidest thing you've ever done. Whether you agree or not, I'll drag you home myself. And as for Luis and the others, I'll make sure they pay for misleading you." Now, sitting in the first row, he toyed idly with the ring on his finger, expression calm, as though he already knew the outcome, until the host's voice rang out clear and bright. "And the winner is..." A pause, then a smile. "Congratulations to your film." Chapter 13. No one expected us to actually win the award. When I went on stage with Luis to receive it, my hands were trembling. It felt like planting a seed with my own hands, watering it day and night, tirelessly. Everyone had told me it would never bloom, that I was foolish to hope, but it had bloomed. The most beautiful flower. Amid mockery and scorn, no one could remain unmoved by that. After the ceremony, many people came over to congratulate and chat. I completely forgot about Cameron, until I reached the underground parking lot. There he was again, tall and still, leaning against the pillar beside my car. Half hidden in shadow, only the faint red glow at his fingertips showed through. A thin trail of smoke curling in the air. He slowly lifted his head and spoke hoarsely. "Selena." I stopped walking and stood quietly before him. He looked disheveled and weary, while I stood straight and calm, a sharp contrast. His eyes lingered on my face. His lips parted, but no words came for a long while. Finally, he forced a strained smile. "Congratulations, you're doing amazing now." "Selena." He drew a deep breath and crushed the cigarette between his fingers, completely unfazed by the burn. "I'll read your story properly when I get home." "Aw, so he hadn't even read my work before." I replied evenly. "Suit yourself. I take back the bet," he said quickly, as if my indifference had pierced him. "Selena, you don't have to come home. I can come visit you instead. Whatever you want to write next, I can help you. If you just give me another chance, I could." He stepped closer and closer, eyes filled with desperate pleading and pain, but I felt nothing. I pushed his hand away, hard, and took a step back. "Cameron, from now on, I'll get better and better on my own. In my future plans, there's no place for you." Chapter 14. After I got back, I received countless invitations. The first wave came from directors and screenwriters, the second from Cameron's grandfather. I didn't refuse. I made time to visit the old family estate. The living room, decorated in an antique style, was solemn and elegant. The old man sat at the head seat, smiling kindly. He went straight to the point. "Selena, you're not going to give Cameron another chance?" I looked at him and replied seriously, firmly, "Grandfather, there was never a chance between us. Maybe you shouldn't have forced him to marry me in the first place. He and I, we were never meant to be." He paused for a long time before letting out a deep sigh. "Selena, it's I who owe you an apology. Back then, when I insisted Cameron marry you, it was partly because of your parents. I wanted him to take good care of you, and partly for my own reasons. He looked down, his tone weary. I knew he already had someone in his heart. But the daughter-in-law of this family shouldn't be someone who makes him neglect the family business, or run off to show her face in the entertainment industry. You've always been obedient and sensible. I watched you grow up. You were the most suitable person to marry into this family, so I made the decision myself. But now I see. I was wrong. He waved a hand, and the butler stepped forward, placing several share certificates in front of me. This is Cameron's wish. These companies will be transferred to your name. Compensation for the years you spent with him. I lowered my gaze and thanked him softly. As I turned to leave, he called out again, "Selena, you still recognize me as your grandfather, don't you? For my sake, could you give Cameron one last chance? Just talk to him properly." My answer didn't change. No. A loud crash rang out, the sound of glass shattering. I turned toward the doorway. Cameron stood there, his face white as paper. It seemed he could no longer bear it. He stepped across the shards, and tears spilled from his bloodshot eyes. "Selena, but I've already read your notebook. How am I supposed to give you up now?" Chapter 15. Selena, I didn't know you'd loved me for so many years. I always thought our marriage was just for show, so I never realized that what I did would hurt you, would make you sad. Let's start over. I'll do everything I can to make it up to you. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. He looked utterly disheveled. Tear streaks marked his pale face. His hair was a mess. Even his shirt buttons were misaligned. Ever since I'd known him, he'd always been calm, poised, and immaculate. Never once had I seen him lose control like this. But all I felt now was disgust and irony. He said he didn't know he'd hurt me. But how could he not know? When someone gives you the leftover scraps from another person's gift, as a perfunctory birthday present, even the dullest person would realize that's rejection. That's disdain. It's deliberate cruelty. And even worse, there had always been someone else who received his full warmth, unrestrained and sincere. I asked coldly, "What about Luna?" Cameron froze, as if I'd pierced through his last layer of denial. "I don't love her anymore. I did like her once, but when she chose to go abroad, I knew we could never have an ending. Later, when I was with you, my feelings for her had already faded. My only mistake was not realizing sooner that I'd gradually fallen for you." I lowered my head, listening to his absurd confession. After a long silence, I met his careful, pleading gaze and smiled faintly. "Cameron, then let me tell you something too. I made a mistake as well. I should have realized sooner that after leaving you, the world outside had everything I was looking for. I really regret not leaving you earlier." Chapter 16. The light in his eyes shattered, breaking into tears that fell one by one. He only murmured softly, all right. After that day, we never met again. Later, on an ordinary afternoon, I heard that he had stepped down from directing altogether. Then came the news. Luna had been caught evading taxes. The internet exploded. People dug deeper and discovered that the person behind her downfall was Cameron himself. It was said things between them ended terribly. Luna stormed into Cameron's house in tears, screaming, "You did all this for her. Do you think she'll forgive you because of it? You're the one who can't make up your mind. First you hurt her, now you hurt me. In the end, you're the most disgusting one of all. You think you're some noble man? You claimed to love me so deeply. But the moment I left, you fell in love with another woman. What kind of devotion is that?" The farce ended with Luna being blacklisted from the industry. The once celebrated star vanished overnight. But she couldn't accept such an ending, so she added her own tragic epilogue. She stabbed Cameron, right in a vital artery. It took 3 days and nights of emergency surgery to drag him back from the brink of death. His body was never the same again. For the rest of his life, he would depend on medication. When he regained consciousness, the first thing he did was struggle to call me. "Selena, could you come see me? Just once, just for a moment. I'm so scared that I'll die without seeing you again." Without getting the chance to say I'm sorry, he was crying. his voice weak and trembling, each word broken by long pauses for breath. I said nothing. I hung up the phone, then added his number to my blacklist once more. I lifted my head. The sunlight outside was dazzling. From the computer came an impatient voice. Hey, where's the new script? I'm ready to start shooting. I typed quickly, smiling faintly. Almost done. Almost done.